Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the summary for the day of 1153 to 1154 for the 21st to 22nd of April. And for the Ukraine war, for all the special military operation in Ukraine, happy birthday to you if your birthday today. And so we're going to start off with the Kursk front first. And talking about Kursk front, I have published a battlefield analysis of the Kursk front on the DPA War channel. Do check it out. I will put it in the link at the end of the video. So over in the Kursk front, in the Sumy incursion region, pro-Russian sources updated some information. They say that the Russian forces continue to be engaging Ukrainian forces over in the Volodymyrivka, Belovody and Basivka line. They also mentioned the Russian forces are fighting the Ukrainians in Loknia and somehow over in the north of Yunakivka. That's the claim. So that is the Sumy sector. Some geolocation of Ukrainian forces clearly shows the Ukrainians are still in the region. They have position at the Belovody, Vorishna, as well as Loknia. So clearly Ukrainian forces still have not lost any of these settlements. So some of these battles are, probably the Russians are still attacking from Basivka, and they are heading they are in the north of Yunakivka, moving in the direction of Yunakivka. That's probably what's happening over here. In the Kursk sector itself, the Russian forces are fighting over at Oleshnia as well as Gorna. There is a geolocation of Russian forces in the south of Goevo. And this is across the Swell River, confirming the Russians have actually crossed the river, advancing in this area, capturing the rest of the forest around here. Ukrainians clearly have went south of the other rivers, the other side of the river, as they probably can't possibly hold a position so close to Goevo. It is impossible to resupply. And so there is also geolocation of Russian forces nearby, confirming our front line is basically correct. But yeah, that's all. Ukrainians were attacking during the so-called ceasefire. I think 21st. Is 21st still a ceasefire? No, it's not a ceasefire. So there is report of Ukrainian attacking. So that's what happened. Mentioned quite a number of places. So that's all from this sector around here in the Kursk front. Over in the Belgorod incursion, the Russian forces continues to be the only one doing attacks at Popivka and Prokhody. So clearly they are trying to retake the Belgorod region that they have lost. And shelling is reported at Okip. So that's all from this Kursk front. There is a geolocation. UAV, allegedly UAV control point destroyed. So that's it. Yeah. As I mentioned in the battlefield analysis, we are coming close to we are basically in the final chapter of the Kursk front adventure. So yeah, that's what it is. Over in the Kharkiv front, we have fighting reported at Voschansk, and there is geolocation of FPV drone strike on Ukrainians over at Siminivka, but that's all. Nothing particularly stands out in this sector. We go over to the Vorishna front. At the Vorishna front, in the northern flank, we have battles at Kanyamka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So the last thing that we know of this position is that the Russians have crossed the river, have a bridgehead in the south, and they have also a bridgehead over in the southwest, which could potentially attack Kanyamka from the southwest. And there is also another over in the north, where the Russian forces have captured Topoli. This could potentially be another place that they can attack. The bridgehead is also pretty big, which also allows the Russians to potentially can attack from two different directions just purely from this bridgehead. So that's the last thing that we know. There's no update regarding all this sector. In the southern flank of the Vorishna front, we have fighting reported over at Doroshevka as well as Moskovka. So that's all. nothing particularly stands out. And we move into the Kupiansk front. Over the Kupiansk front, only Petropavlivka was mentioned, only this sector, so not important. Over in the Borova front, we still have the two-prong attack over at Zarizovit, Novokryakivka, and Nadia, and towards Novosahiyevka. So strategically, nothing particularly new regarding this. Moving into the Lyman front. So this is Lyman. This is the northern flank of the Lyman front. This is the southern flank. In the northern flank, the Russian forces continue their offensive operation. Fighting is reported towards Ohivka, Novomihailivka, Novi Mayer, Kurskivka, Nove, and Telina Dolena. Kolozyazi was mentioned as well. This is part of the mob towards the southern flank already. So there is a big arrow offensive currently happening, towards the northwest, but potentially is moving in the direction of Pisky Rakivsky, or they could potentially flank and then go towards Osku, which probably is a way, but not necessarily important. Like Lozove is probably more important for now because you can't defend Osku. Osku is just surrounded by forests. Like this is a terrible place to defend. So over in the Lyman front, in the south, we have Kolozyazi, as mentioned earlier. Fighting Smyrne, Zarishne, and Torske. Shelling is reported at Yampil. So that's all. Similarly, this is pretty much the same strategy situation. The ceasefire ended. The Russians immediately launched attacks upon the end of the ceasefire. Clearly, like I said, it's purely just for a small holiday. For religious purposes, and it's not really like a real ceasefire. Geolocation of FPV drone strike clearly show Ukrainian forces is just off Kuzminivka. There is a geolocation of Russian forces on the west of Bilohorivka, confirming Russian advance. I will zoom in a while. Fighting is reported at Kurihorivka, Bekomokanyamske, and Siversk was mentioned. So we zoom in this region. At the Bilohorivka, you can see this Vuhledar. This is basically like looking like the stars. So many exploded place. Geolocation of Russian forces. Is over here. So this means that the Russian forces have captured this sector. This is pretty open and pretty messy terrain. So the Russians definitely is making a slow crawl. The distance from here to Kharkiv is still around 2 kilometers. So it's still a long crawl, and you can see the terrain here is horrible. This is a terrible place to fight. Yeah, so it's no wonder the Russians keep failing. Over in the Bakhmut front, in the northern flank, we have fighting reported at Vasyukivka, Makhove, and Maiske being mentioned over the past 2 days. There is a number of geolocation, by the way. So Vasyukivka, I have been scammed long enough that I don't think anything serious is happening over there. Neither is the Russians. Is going to push seriously into these areas here for now. I think not very meaningful. It's probably just like a grinding purposes. This various geolocation is artillery. FH-70 getting destroyed. This is FH-70. This is FH-70. So 2 artillery getting destroyed. And then this FPV drone strike on a tank, and this is another artillery that got destroyed. So there is just these 4 geolocations. 3 of them is artillery system getting destroyed, and this is a tank. So this is a tank. Yeah, you can see this is a continuation of the destruction of artillery that is now confirmed by geolocation, like so many of them. So I'm not sure what exactly is happening. Is it the case where the Ukrainians kept a lot of artillery in reserve and then now they bring to the front line, or the Ukrainians just simply pushed the artillery too close to the front line, or it's just the Russians just got really good at hunting down the artillery? That also could be a possibility. Over in the southern flank of the Bakhmut front, fighting is reported at Chasivya, Stuposhki, and Bilahora. So that's all over the Bakhmut front. We move on to the Toretsk front. And sad news for the sauropod, our dear sauropod long-necked dinosaur Nelipivka. Our dear Nelipivka is dead. The Russians chop off his head. Like, yeah, no, this Nelipivka, the dinosaur. Based on pro-Russian mapping, they have chopped off his neck, and so this is gone. So which means Ukrainian forces have retaken off this position, killing off our dear dinosaur. So no, let's give our no dear Nelipivka 1 second silence. Okay, moving on to the direct fighting reported over at Druzhba, Dashne, Dilievka, Toretsk, as well as Shebenivka. There's fighting moving towards Romanivka as well, and despite the Russian mapping show that the line is now cut off here, which means Ukrainian forces have retaken this northern part of the sector. The Russian mapping do claim the almost entirety of Toretsk under Russian control. So which means that this like encirclement or salient or whatever you're gonna call this is now claimed to be under Russian control by the Russian mapping. The battle at Toretsk on the Russian mapping is all on the edge of the city. Within the city itself, they have mapped as really under Russian control. So only the edge of the city, like for example, like this area here might be still a gray zone, but everything inside here, these are all Russian controlled. So that's how the Russians view the situation. Over in this New York sector, as mentioned just now, fighting is reported towards Romanivka, and shelling is reported at Zoria, fighting towards Stara Mykolaievka. But what's the most big development is the capture of Sukha Balka. So we're going to zoom in. We have geolocation. Video has came out with the Russians waving the flag on top of this building, and they also fired their rifles into the air in celebration, and the relaxed nature of how they are raising the waving the flag means that the entire settlement here, at least up to a kilometer, honestly, is all under Russian control. So in fact, I should have expanded the zone of control, but no, I just want to be a bit more conservative. But but the entire area here is now under Russian control, and this also is largely corroborated by Ukrainian mapping. Ukrainians map that the Russians have advanced down this tree line, and half of this lake is now under Russian control with the fortifications all taken by the Russians. They left this area here as gray zone. However, the geolocation clearly shows that it's under Russian control. So our line go on like this, but potentially the Russians actually have control all the way up to this point. And the Russian Ukrainian mapping also show that the entire tree line here and the fortification is also taken by the Russians, and which means that the open field here is all under Russian control. So this is the end of the chapter for Sukha Balka for now, and it looks like the line might potentially even be like this. Like all of this might actually all be under Russian control. So if we zoom out, we can see that if this is potentially where the Russian lines are right now, the confident control, then we are going to see the battle moving in towards Romanivka as they go down this gully towards Romanivka. And if they take Romanivka further up north, there's nothing. Then the Russians could just swing and cut off the highway and collapse the front line in the south. And that is going to be disastrous. So that's the situation in this sector. The Russian Defense Ministry did already announce the capture of Sukha Balka yesterday. So the geolocation, the video simply just corroborates the reality. And that is also reflected in our mapping. In the real positions, other than the shelling at Zoria, we have shelling reported at Yablukivka and Novo Olenivka. We move into the northern flank, of course, also at Novo Ekonomichne. Over in the northern flank of the Pokrovsk front, so this is Pokrovsk. So this is the northern flank. Over in the northern flank of the Pokrovsk front, we have fighting reported towards Oleg Centropil, Tarasevka, Vodyane Druhi, Berezivka, towards Novo Nova Potavka, Malinivka, Yelizavetivka, and fighting reported at Mariinka. So that is the situation. You can see very activated front right now. The Russians are pushing pretty hard here, and it looks like it might be related to the development just across the other side, because if the Russians are making serious pushes in this sector, it makes sense that the Russians may want to do more in this area here, because collectively they are all moving in this direction, in the direction of Konstantinivka, paralyzing the roads. So yeah, so and we shall see how this would play out. If the roads are taken, the entire line here will just collapse. So we move on to the Minokhrad sector. At the Minokhrad sector, fighting is reported at Promin, Sukiya, Lysivka, Novopalivka, Novoukrenka, Shevchenko, and towards Pokrovsk. So this is the current situation in the Minokhrad sector. Also looks like a lot of arrows, but of course this is a 2-day mapping, so it potentially could be the case. And I was wondering, do I need to pause every time we cover a part so that you can actually look at the front line? Like no. So are you ready? Okay to take notes? No. There we go to the next front. Something like this, like during lectures and whatnot. So the lecturers will always pause for the students to take note. I'm not sure if I need to do that. Fighting is reported over in the Pokrovsk sector at Kotline, Udashne. Russian Defense Ministry reported attacks at Udashne. Sorry, it's Deep State UA. The Ukrainian mapping say that the Ukrainians have captured some grounds at Udashne, but everything is in the gray zone, so it doesn't change our map. Fighting is reported at Uspenivka, Novo-Alexandrivka, and towards Novo-Mykolaiivka. So that and then Shevchenko is mentioned just now as towards Pokrovsk as well. So that is the current situation in this sector. So now, can I move on? Okay, so I'll go to the next slide. Yeah, over in the southern flank of the Pokrovsk front, we have fighting reported at Nedievka, Kotelevivka, Preobrazhenka, Toretsk, Bodanivka, and in the south of Yasinove. And this area here, the Ukrainians have considered that these impossible salients don't exist, is under Russian control. So this impossible salient continue to close down. But of course, on the Ukrainian mapping, this area here is under Ukrainian control, which is why it doesn't look as impossible, but all this is confirmed by geolocation, so it is verified. So that's all. So the Russians continue. I think it is unavoidable. The line is going to be here actually. No, this is just arbitrary. So over in the Koma front. So this is Kolmar, and this is the Kolmar front. Over in the Andriivka sector, fighting is reported over at Andriivka, Oleksievka, Konstantinopil, Rozliv, and Odradne. Nothing particularly stands out for me in this sector. So the Ukrainians do well. They really done well to hold back the Russian offensive in this sector. How long it will last, we do not know, but we shall see. Over in the this rear position, there's shelling reported at Komar and Tolstoy. Yeah, we haven't seen this being mentioned before. This is the first time Tolstoy by the Russian Defense Ministry. In case you cannot see, I make big. Ta-da! So yeah, over in the other part, the western part of the Komar front, we have fighting reported at Privone, Venipole, Novosilka, and towards Novopil. But yeah, nothing particularly special about all these reports as well. And that's it. We move on to the Zaporizhzhia front. At the Zaporizhzhia front, this is Zaporizhzhia, and this is the Zaporizhzhia front. We have fighting in all three sectors: Huepole sector, Orikhiv sector, and Kayamsky sector. Over at the Huepole sector, we have continuation of the fighting reported at Shevone or Visoke on the Google Maps, and towards Huepole. This is information from the Russian Defense Ministry on the 22nd, yesterday's SITREP. And we over at the Orikhiv sector, we have fighting reported towards Novodanilivka. according to the Ukrainians and the Russians, towards Novodanilivka. So that is something that we already noted. No news regarding Mala Tomashka. And over in the Kayamsky sector, we have fighting reported at Mali Shebaki, Stepove, Kayamsky, and Ukrainians are attacking in the north of Zarebianki, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned Petikaki for some reason. So if we zoom in this sector, Petikaki is mentioned by the Ukrainians. They say the Russians attacked near Petikaki. This incursion is mapped by the Ukrainians. They continue to claim that Ukrainians have positions around here, and I'm not sure. Could it be the Russians attack from Petikaki and then they note it as an attack around Petikaki? I mean, that's possible. So this is a claim. So this is not going to affect our Russian map. For those that are not aware, I'm going to repeat again. DPS mapping here is two maps. It's not one map. It's a Ukrainian map. This is the Ukrainian perspective of what the front line is, and then this is the Russian perspective of what the front line is. So just in case you do not know. And over the Kherson front, we have the usual boarding stuff with fighting reported in the Dnipro direction and shelling at Mykolaiv and Pontianivka. But that's all. So that's it. This is the summary for the day of 1153 to 1154 for the 21st, 22nd of April. So thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe. Subscribe. And and I'll see you guys in the next update.